for 1962 War in the Hills?
Yes, I am. Are you?
I am excited to watch it, surely. We rarely get a war series.
Yeah, that's true, right? It's not
Yeah,
that common. Hmm.
yeah,
It's a tough subject to make something on.
yes. So,
Hmm.
I mean, tell me something about the series and your character in particular, and if there were any real life inspiration for this character.
Well, I play Major Suraj Singh,
Right.
and he's a major, so of course he leads his soldiers into battle. He's a leader. He's dedicated um, to his people, his country, his soldiers. He's devoted to his family as well. He has a wife and a daughter. He's a very brave man.
And were there any real life inspiration for this character? He's a real life character, right?
It's based on a real life incident. It's based on a battle that took place, and the filmmakers took the liberty of fictionalizing the people.
Mm,
But we definitely have placed it in a real setup. That's something that really did happen. But that's part of the philosophy of this show about the psychological effects of war, the tragedy of war. It
mhm,
doesn't matter what side you're on. That's another reason why I took this show on.
mhm,
And when you take that perspective, um, it, the stories portrayed can't be a not very different from what actually happened, and b not very different from what happened anywhere in the world. Because when you go to war, it's the same scene anywhere. You get separated
correct.
from your family. You're spending days, weeks, months away from home. You're losing people who are close to you. There's a psychological impact on you. So, to be very honest, that's the tragedy of war. We still continue to go into war, but we live out the same tragedies, unfortunately.
But do you
So,
have any?
hmm.
Did you have any character, real life character in mind? I'm
So I
repeating my
just said
question.
that I
Mhm.
just said it's based on a true life story, but we were not
Yeah.
basing our roles on any real person
Mhm.
because as that's another reason why I like the philosophy of this show, because it doesn't matter if you base it on a real person or not, because the story will remain the same. You'll be
Mhm.
separated from your family, you'll be spending days, weeks, months outside in battle, you'll be losing loved ones, your soldiers, your friends. Your mother will be crying for you, you might leave a wife at home. So when you have a war story, uh,
Mhm.
you can portray this. It probably won't be far from the truth. That's because the unfolding of war is the same, and it doesn't matter
Mhm.
what side you're on. The same story would have played out on the other side with the enemy.
Right, right.
And that's another reason why I did this show. So it was in answering your question. The battle
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
based on is the only factual thing here.
Oh, okay. So,
Mm.
Indian war movies have often been accused of being too jingoistic, you know. Do
Mm.
you personally see a line between jingoism and patriotism?
Well, I'm not for war at all.
Mhm.
I'm against it. I don't think it's a solution to anything. And it was important for me that this show portrayed that. So in when you're taking that approach, there's no space for jingoism or patriotism because you're trying to show a human story. Doesn't matter whether you're Indian or you're Chinese.
Mhm.
A human life is a human life. And what a waste to see it destroyed when it's young and dynamic, and then to see it lost is a tragedy. Why do we go to war? Why can't we solve our differences through diplomacy? Is the question we want to ask. So, when you take that approach, it's hard to be jingoistic, you
Mhm.
know?
So that would be the predominant thread in this war saga,
Yes, yes.
beyond bravery and all.
It's it's bravery is inherently built into it. You are, after all, going to face bullets, and this was 125 soldiers facing 3,000
Mhm.
of the enemy. So that's bravery. Doesn't You don't have to highlight the bravery; it's inherently built into it. If anything, you need to highlight the vulnerability because it's easy to forget that they are people after all. They're men, and they have their own love and their own fear. Um,
So, what was the biggest challenge for you personally to portray this character?
Challenges are usually physical, being
Mhm.
in Leh Ladakh where the air is rarefied. I was recovering from an injury. I couldn't do as many stunts as I wanted to. Um, but but when it comes to the creatives, you have a direct like Mahesh Manjrekar directing you.
Mm,
He just gives so much clarity. I had
mm,
Mahi Gill work with me again, and she's a fantastic actor. So to work with
mm.
her, I've worked with her before, and she's just got this spark in her, this inherent natural spark that I love. Um, so yeah, like I said, the physicality is the only thing that's challenging. I'm privileged to be able to do what I do and make a living out of what I love.
Mhm.
So I don't have time to focus on challenges.
And talking of Michael, she somewhere said that she turned very emotional while reuniting with you and for this show. You were
Mm,
together in Devti. And
mm.
so, what was your reaction working with her again?
I was just really happy that I was with her again. I was happy from the moment I found out she's going to be my wife. I've been wanting to work with her again. The chance hasn't come up, and it had to be
Mhm.
something special because what we did was special. Yeah, sure. I mean, I'm not someone who will show his emotions that easily off camera.
Mhm.
So maybe I didn't express enough to her how thrilled I was to be with her again.
Okay.
Maybe I
Mhm.
could have expressed it more to her.
But the relationship, the equation with co-stars is very important while enacting any particular role.
For sure. At least for me, it is. I want to be comfortable with my co actor and I want my co actor to be comfortable with me. So I'll go that extra mile to make him or her feel that comfort because we want each other to shine. If we shine, the film or the show we're doing will
Mm.
shine. Um, yeah, so that's always been my effort. And Mahi inherently just
Mm.
naturally makes people comfortable because of how down
Mm.
to earth she is and respectful she is. So that comes with her naturally.
Okay, war movies or anything that is inspired or based on a real life incident in Indian cinema is very far away from the truth. So how much creative liberty has Mr. Manjrekar taken in this one?
I mean, that's a question for Mr. Manjrekar. No, why are you asking me
The-
that? Let him answer that question.
but still, you think it's very close to the truth? Do you think anything that is inspired by a real life incident should be closer to truth?
When it's about war, it
Yeah.
can't, even if you don't base it on real people,
Hmm.
whatever you make will not be far away from the truth. It's exactly my words I gave you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because you're going to get separated from your family, you're going to lose loved ones, people you work with are going to die, you don't know whether you will survive or not, your mother will miss you, your wife might lose you, you might have
Right.
children back at home, and the same thing is going on with the enemy.
It's just that these kind of series and movies often get a
Uh,
lot of flack for not being truthful enough. That was my question. Okay.
well, like I said to you, even
Mm,
if you fictionalize an
mm,
event such as this, you won't be far from the truth.
okay.
Now, as far as
Okay.
flack
Okay.
is
That's
concerned, the
mm,
flack will be deserved only if you're being pretentious or disingenuous, or you're trying to big yourself up, like, oh, look at me, look at how great I am, I'm done. Then you deserve that flack. But if
mm,
you're just trying to show how futile it is to go to war, if you're trying to be
mm,
humanistic about the people involved in a war, you're trying
mm,
to, if your aim at the end of this is to tell people war is
mm,
not a productive thing, then I
mm.
don't think you could gain that flack. If you're
Okay.
being honest, you could perhaps not measure up creatively. Perhaps you don't shoot as well as you could have, or you don't act as
Mm,
well as you could have. But
mm.
even that's not real flack. That could be a constructive criticism of your process. But yeah,
So
I don't know.
which one would be your favorite war movie?
Doctor Strangelove by
Hmm.
Stanley Kubrick and Full Metal Jacket also by Stanley Kubrick.
Okay, so I'll again ask a question. I mean, you might get offended by this one too, but do you think Indian cinema has come along, Indian war, representation of Indian wars themes
Hmm.
have come a long way since from Hakikat to Border to 1962?
I haven't been offended by any of your questions so far.
Okay,
I was just making a
all
point
right.
to say that you were repeating your
Okay, yeah,
question over
and
and
we
over
are,
again. It
yeah.
wasn't offensive. I was just like, I don't have the same answer for you.
Mm,
B, have we come a long way? We've just come a long way in general. You know,
mm,
if just watch any movie from the 90s or from the 80s, and you will see we're technically better, we shoot
mm,
better, We light better, edit, sound. Music has always been a strong point for us. It's just
Mm,
the quality has improved of the microphones we use and the studios we record in. Um, I've tried to do the non-Bollywood films so that I can play characters you can relate to and that are real, because Bollywood tends, the formula has you inherently over the top. And so now we've come a long way from there as well. Bollywood has tried to incorporate some of that into its own. And a lot of the new actors, if you see now, even if they're doing something that's unbelievable, are still very believable because of the talent they have. Um, so for sure, we've come a long way, but I don't think that's necessarily to do with war. That's just in
mm,
general. We've really, really improved upon our craft.
mm. What you were once, not once, you are almost considered a gold standard for
Yeah.
movies. If there is a Abhay Deol in a film, one can
Mm,
expect good content. But do you
mm.
think you're still searching for that kind of a role in on the OTT platform? And would
Mm.
1962 be that part?
What one that would be a gold standard? I
I mean,
honest honestly, it's scary when you hear that, and I've heard it a few times because the pressure to
mm,
to deliver that much becomes that much more.
mm,
Um, I just see it as this. I've tried to really be authentic with who I am and what I choose to do. I've
mm,
tried to follow up my words with action. And I've been fortunate enough that I've been able to do that a few times because of I really put myself out there.
mm,
Um, and so the respect I get today, I'm thankful for it. Um, I don't necessarily feel the pressure to deliver because I'm just doing what I love. But I feel that pressure when I'm asked the question or I'm told, I'm either given the compliment or I'm asked the question that you have.
mm,
Yeah, for sure, you feel it. But that's not the reason why I choose to do what I choose to do. So I've done 1962 because I believe in it. And that sets the gold standard. I don't do something to say, okay, I'm going to do this to set the gold standard. Then I probably
mm,
won't because I'm being dishonest with why I'm doing something. I did this because it's a good platform, it's a good director, it's a strong production, great co stars,
mm.
content I agree with, philosophy I go with. And you see, that sets the gold standard when you are being true to what it is that you're trying to do. You're not trying to set any standard, but that gets set as a result of your thought and your process.
But do you think OTT was just your kind of medium, just
Mm.
right for the subtle actor that you are, and yet it's your cousin Bobby Deol who's making waves on this medium. How do you feel about that?
I feel great, as he
Mm,
should.
mm.
Um, I'm not understanding your question. Are you saying that I feel bad? Are you
Uh,
saying that I'm
no,
trying to? Huh?
no, I'm asking whether you're still searching for that role on the OTT platform because a lot of
I'm
series have
honest.
made waves. Yeah.
Yeah, I look, I think it's great
Mm,
that the people are making creative decisions that are different and making breakthroughs while taking those decisions because it just makes more room for actors like myself.
mm,
I've never been competitive. I've always said what you can do, I cannot do, and what I can do, you cannot do. So let's both of us shine in our own individual spaces because we both have some value to add here.
right, right.
um, when I was doing films back in like 10, 12 years ago, which they're somewhat making in Bollywood today,
Mhm,
um, nobody was making those films. And so I have nothing to prove. If I had anything to prove, it's already been proved.
mhm,
I managed to make non-formula movies early in my career because there was multiplexes coming up. So for a brief short window, there was more exhibition space and there was product to distribute. And
mhm,
so the studios took my movies. It's not necessarily all of them had faith in those films. It's just that they had to
mhm,
do all sorts of films. And so I managed to bring them out. But then, sure enough, soon enough, the powers that be wanted more cinema space, wanted more screens. And without infrastructure to support independent cinema within the country, there was only so much I could do on my own. It's not
mhm,
like there was directors or producers around me trying to support me and support each other to continue doing what we are good at doing. Everybody felt Like they needed to conform or take on bigger stars and producers because there was no ecosystem. They didn't believe that they could support themselves. Whereas I always stood and said, no, I can support myself.
Mhm.
Um, Now with the OTT platforms, that is
Mhm.
happening again. What happened when the multiplexes first came up? But unlike the multiplexes, they're digital spaces. They're unlimited.
Mhm.
And while there is an audience for the formula film that Bollywood makes, there's
Mhm.
also an audience for the non-formula film. And so if an OTT platform chooses to make something mainstream to cater to a type of audience, they will also make something non-mainstream to cater to another type of an audience. And they will market both because they're both a product of that platform. And so
Mhm.
there's more democracy now in space. And so unlike with Bollywood, where the bigger the producer behind you, the more marketing you'll get. Over here,
Mhm.
whether you're a star or a newcomer, if you're
Mhm.
on that platform and that platform has made a product that you are the face of, they will represent both of you equally. So it's a wonderful time to be in. I just see more opportunity for myself. I don't have to prove anything to anyone.
Mhm.
I look forward to now what I knew I couldn't get 10, 15 years ago. I
Mhm.
look forward to be able to get that now. So to if that answers your question, yes, I do look forward to more stuff that will play upon my individuality and not force me to just conform to a formula. I expect that of the OTT platforms and I
But
see them doing it all the time. Yeah.
but do you also feel that OTT is also, I mean, veering towards being star driven?
Like I said, there will always be the audience for that kind of movie, which the stars
Mhm.
inhabit. And why should they not? Like, even when I was trying to make non formula films, I wasn't saying don't make Bollywood films. I was saying make them, but allow people like me also to shine in our own individuality and perhaps make something different so people have a choice.
Mhm.
So I would say the same thing to the OTT platforms. Why should they not make the Bollywood film and star film? Because there's an audience for it, right? People are going to buy, no? They're going to subscribe, no? If I have XYZ hero in my movie and they're going to subscribe to my channel, sure, I'll do it. But the beauty is that they will still make a film that doesn't have a star in it and make their own stars, something which most producers and
Yeah.
directors cannot do,
Mhm.
barring a few. Karan Johar great stars. I don't know anybody else outside of him who can.
Mhm.
He will back them up and he'll support them and he will lift them and he will put them out there. Nobody does that else can do that. Only the OTT platforms will be able to do that outside of Kejo. You know,
But and how do you look at your personal journey in all these years?
I'm thankful
Mhm.
for having had all this opportunity, for taking all the risks, for the good and the bad. It's made me who I am today.
And you've always been mostly been a critic's darling, but once in a while, if there is criticism, how do you take it?
Well, everybody's a critic nowadays,
Yes.
you know,
Hmm.
and some of them are biased
Hmm.
as well.
Hmm.
There'll be the one or two critics who I tend to relate with.
Hmm.
I've tried to read others, but really, if there's constructive criticism, I'm willing to hear it from any person, as long as it's constructive. But what I find a lot with the Indian media, there seems to be either biases or agendas.
Hmm.
I learned that, and it was very unfortunate because there were names I respected, and I realized they were
Hmm.
writing blind items on the side. you know, so I couldn't take their criticism seriously anymore, and then I just
Hmm.
stopped reading after a while. There are the couple here and there that I will still read, but most critics I don't read.
And what about those who follow you on social media where you have quite a following?
Well, the critics or just the general
No, no,
followers?
just general. As you said, everyone is a critic, so every member of the audience is a critic.
So that's why, like, look, a constructive criticism can come from anywhere. It could come from somebody who's got nothing to do with film, and it could come, and the worst criticism could come from someone who has everything to do with film. So I'm open. Like I will listen to someone who's trying to be constructive. I won't listen to somebody who's spewing venom or abuses at me.
Okay, so I mean, do we see you on silver screen as well in anytime soon? And what would be
Mm,
that project?
theatrical, you're saying?
Yes, yes.
Um, Maybe by the
Mhm.
end of this year, but let's see, let the producers make that announcement. I mean, now with COVID and everything, it's tough getting a theatrical. Anyways, the kind of movies I make, it was difficult to get them to have a theatrical release.
Okay.
Now, on
Okay. Can
top of
I have
that, we have
one more
COVID.
last question? One more last question. And what makes you say yes to a project?
Relatability. Yeah, I need to be able to relate to the character and the
Mhm.
story, first and foremost. Like, if I can't relate to it, then it's gone out of my head already. You know,
And your method for acting?
that's not the last question, then, is it?
Okay. So give me another one.
Method for acting. You really want to, get understand the story, the graph, the beginning, the middle, and the end. How does my character fit in within that space? What is the story trying to say? How does my character fit in the larger scheme of things?
Mhm.
Is there something physical that I need to change? My accent, my body language. You look at all of those things, and then you shape it up with the director.
And you've done that often enough with great felicity. Okay, thank you so much,
Thank
Abhay.
you.
A pleasure talking to you. Yes,
And
thank
you.
you. And looking
Take
forward
care.
to 1962 War in the Hills, right?
Thank you
Okay,
so
wishing
much.
you all
Bye
the
bye.
best.
Thank you.